right? So on day two, we'll be focusing mainly on functions, which forms one of the most important topics in Excel. On day three, our focus will be mainly on pivot tables and charts. We're not just going to learn the basics of pivot table. There's been some wonderful options introduced from 2010, like slicers and timelines, which helps us to connect various pivot tables. There are also different power views available, which has been introduced from 2013. There's been something called Power Pivot that was introduced from 2010. So we're going to touch base upon all these when we talk when we talk about pivot tables and charts. On day four, it's mainly about sharing and protecting data. So we have different levels of sharing. How do we protect the data? You also have a very good add-in called Inquire that has been introduced in 2013 that helps you to compare workbooks, get a history of what's happening sheet by sheet, workbook by workbook. It's a wonderful option that I'll be discussing on day four when we talk about share and protect. On day five, it's most of data management and analysis. So our focus will be on data analysis and what if. There are more options under data analysis, but we'll be talking only about histogram and regression. If you're interested to learn more on ANOVA and all that, I do have some PDFs that I'll be sharing at the end of the session, which you can go back and refer to because 2 hours is very limited. So we'll just focus on these two, which are commonly used in our data analysis. We'll also cover the what if analysis part. Also, we might be working with auto filters, custom filters, but we may not be familiar how to work with advanced filters, how to manage our data better with multi-level sorting, with advanced filters. So these are the things that I'll be covering on day five. On day six, it's mostly about formatting and presentation. Again, to talk about, we might be working with formatting for so many years, but did we know something like, I just do a mind, I also have advanced find. I can search within sheet. I can search within book. Maybe this is something that we might not have explored. So if I have a date format that has to be, made standard across, we can actually copy the format or choose it from our cell and make it standard across. So these are some options that we might not have explored. I'm just showing you an example here. Right, those working with conditional formatting, right, working with the custom formatting options, and of course sometimes you have to prepare your Excel finally to have the data on a hard copy. So how do we set up our Excel? How do we keep it ready for printing, bringing it on hard copy? Right, so these are the things we'll be discussing on day 6. And on day 7, the last day of the course, we'll be touch basing upon a very important topic. Apart from formulas, this is the most widely used option in Excel, macros. And VBA, in terms of VBA, we'll only be discussing on an intro level because VBA is a separate session altogether. The course name that here we have is Advanced Excel 2013. So we'll be touch basing upon advanced Excel features. But if you're interested to learn the visual basic part, which is the programming part in Excel, it would be very difficult to cover again in 2 hours. So we'll be taking you through how to record a macro, look at the code, how to debug it, and maybe write 1 or 2 simple programs. But if you want to learn, VBA extensively, we might have to conduct a separate session for that. Right? I'm just setting the right expectations so that you know what you'll be getting at the end of the session. So this is how we have segregated our topics from day 1 to day 7, and our actual session will begin tomorrow. Right? I guess you all might have already got this course outline. I think it's already shared with you all. In case if you have not, I guess you can visit their website and they have it uploaded. So you can probably just go through and, you can just keep of the topics that's being covered on a daily basis. So that's about the course outline, how we have designed. So it's a total of 14 hours, right? 2 hours each session spread across 7 days. So basically, Saturday's course, as I mentioned, 4 Saturdays and 3 Sundays. So our session will end on the 13th of September. Speaking about this, the next thing is this is not a classroom session, right? So this is a webinar session that we're conducting, and we're using something called AnyMeeting. I want you all to effectively use this so that we can make it more interactive. I'll just help you with the most important things that you need to focus when you log into any meeting. Apart from that, if you have anything, as in when we proceed, we can actually take it up. So I just have some screenshots here. So this is the first screen you'll see as soon as you open your any meeting. Okay, so what we have is the microphone, camera, desktop, record, interact, and more options. So I want you all to focus more on interact here. Okay, I'll be taking you through that. So microphone will be by default muted by the presenter, that is by me, just to avoid any unwanted disturbances during the session. Because if there's too much of voice distortion, it creates havoc and you won't be able to focus. So what I've done is, as soon as you log in, you will be unmuted. I want you all to use the interact in case if you have any general query or if you have any technical query. I want you all to use this interact, raise your hand, because there might be 3-4 people having queries at the same time. Okay, I'll call out your name, then you can unmute your phone if required. Otherwise, we'll try to keep the phone interaction as minimal as possible. Okay, we do have a chat window. Again, I've made this chat private. Okay, so in case if anybody wants to ask anything, that would only come to me, the presenter. It will not be displayed on the public window. Okay, so that we have a private chat, right? In case if you want to leave in between, if you have something, some other comment, you want to just inform me that I'll not be able to attend the entire session. Those are things that you can just communicate with me. You don't have to let the whole the whole session know what exactly is happening. But any query in general which will benefit other participants, I would like to see that your hand is raised and I would like to call out your name. Then you can unmute your phone and you can ask your query, right? So we can do one by one if 3-4 people have queries at the same time in order to avoid chaos during the session. So I'll show you how you can use this interact. So that's about mic. You'll always see it unmuted before we go to interact. Do not turn on your webcam. We don't need to see each other. It's more of, what we see on the screen that's important. So we don't want to turn on the webcam. Desktop sharing. By default, I think it will be grayed out for you all because I'm the host and I will be sharing my desktop. But at any point, if you have a specific file on which you're facing problem and you would like to display it to me if it's not containing any sensitive data, I have the right to promote you, make you the host. Then you get an option to share your desktop. Okay. We just tested something. When you want to share your desktop, you need to have this AnyMeeting installed. So I guess it's a 37.4 MB file, which might take about 10 minutes. So in case if you have, then do let me know on chat that I have a file that I would like to share. So what I can do is I can make you the presenter and you can start installing it. I'll have to stop my screen sharing. So unless it's really required, we don't need to share this. We don't need to use this option. But otherwise, if you have a very important file, you've been struggling with it for many months or many years, and you want to get it resolved, we can do that. Right. So till then, you will not see your share desktop option because you're all attending the session and I'm the host and I have the control to share my desktop otherwise. The record option that you're seeing again will be grayed out for you all, right? Interact. So this is something very important. So basically, when you click on interact, these are the options you have. I want you to use these effectively. The most important one being raise hand. As I said, if you have any query, please raise your hand using this option. I will get to see that in my attendees list that I have to my left hand side of the AnyMeeting window, right? If 2 or 3 of you at the same time, maybe I'll call out, then you can unmute and then you can ask your queries. So once you're done, if you're satisfied with the answer, you can say I'm fine, or if you have anything more to discuss, we can always do that over the phone. Right? Sometimes I might ask you general questions like, was this topic clear? Were you able to follow the steps? So you can probably just let me know by saying yes or no, because it's completely as I said, it's all on web. So we can't see each other. It's not a classroom session. So you can at least let me know, yes, no, please repeat. Right? So if it means, if there's a no, that means you want me to repeat the topic. So I get to know exactly what you want. Right? You also have speed up and slow down in case if you feel that the session is going really slow and you're already familiar with a couple of topics you want me to speed up. You can always let me know, but it should be a general opinion. I'll have to ask the other participants if they too want me to speed up or slow down, depending on how the pace is going. Right? So whenever you've raised your hand, make sure you click on I'm fine, right? Once you're answered. Even otherwise, in case you forget, don't have to worry. I have the reset attendees option that I can use. But I want you all to use these options effectively. Right? So we also have the more option. Again, you would not be requiring any of these. If there is a poll I want to run, like, where the topic's interesting on day one, or if there's a specific query, like I want to ask you a query about some product or anything, I can create a poll. Anyways, you'll get a notification when that is done. This is used as and when required. What I want you to look at is switch to phone. In case if you're, there are two ways of connecting, right? Either you would have used your mobile phone to connect or you would have used your PC to connect. So in case if your PC mic is giving trouble, if you want to switch to phone, you have an option, right? When you click on this, you get a number with a meeting ID. You can take help of that and then log into this particular session. So I think these are the only two things we might require from the more option. Right? But let's be careful about muting and unmuting. I've given you the privilege to unmute whenever you want, but always keep your phones otherwise muted, which I'm going to do in the beginning of the session. So unless required, please do not unmute the session. Okay. So we were just discussing one of the tips, like this is my first column that I want. I'm just going to get data or I'm going to populate data in my Excel. But this is the very first column I want to generate. I just want a serial number column wherein I want to populate numbers from 1 to 100, right? So normally what is the methodology that people follow? They use the fill handle and they say fill series, right? This works fine if you're filling in limited number of values, or sometimes people also use control plus option, right? But commonly what they do is dragging and then filling the values. But if you want it till 500 or till 1000, how long will you go on dragging? It's time consuming. So when you actually look at your screen, in the very first tab, the last group editing, there's something called fill series, right? This option has been there since the time Excel was introduced, right? But I'm sure we would not have explored this. So when I come to fill series, the first option that it's asking is how do you want your series to be filled in? Is it column wise, row wise? So let's say I want it to be filled in column wise. The step value that you see here is nothing but difference between two sets, consecutive sets. So if you want to populate consecutive numbers, you leave the step value as 1. Suppose you want to populate odd numbers, the difference would be 2. Let's say you want to populate even numbers, 2 should have been your first value and the difference would have been 2. Right? So all you have to enter here is your last value. Now do not worry about this category type. It automatically picks up based on what you have on your sheet. So if you have numeric data, it picks up linear. If you have a date or type of data, it will automatically pick up date. So all we have to specify here is what's my last value. Let's say I want it till 5000. So that populated 5000. So that's how easy it is, and less time consuming when you want to work with your options. Of course, there are more. I just wanted to introduce this trend to you, but as and when we get started with our session, we'll be discussing more. A couple of other things. Let's say I have a set of data like this, right? And I have some blanks in between. I want to fill these blanks with the value that's right above it. So I want these cells to be filled in as A, I want these cells to be filled in with B, and I want these cells to be filled in with C. You can't be sitting and dragging and working. Of course, here I've just taken a simple example, but in your scenario, you might have huge data with which you have to do this. So again, we look out probably for, does it really require a macro to do this, or how am I going to do it? or some people literally spend time doing this. So again, we would not have explored something called go-to special. We all might have worked with a normal go-to. I want to go to this particular cell address, or I want to go to this particular sheet. So you give a sheet name or a cell address, it takes you there. But what about these special options there? We might not have explored. So what we need to do here is, first we'll have to select the cells where you want the data to be copied, right? Next, you need to pull this up. So there are different options. One is you can either come to your tab, select the option and directly say go to, or you can also use the shortcut F5, which brings up the go to window. Click on special, and first we need to select the blanks in this range. Notice it has highlighted blanks in my selection area. Do not click anywhere outside. What we're going to do is we start with an equal to, because the first cell is already highlighted. We start with an equal to, and we select the cell above it, right? The value above it, letting Excel know that this is what needs to be copied. And now if you just do an enter, it's not going to work. It's just going to work for that cell. We're going to do a control enter. So that's filled my blanks with the value right on top of it. So this option is something that people usually keep looking for, especially in pivot table in earlier versions. Of course, now when we do pivot table, we have options like repeat all items, but 2007 and earlier version people, if they want to fill in their blanks in the pivot table, this is a very good option to it. Right, so there are many more tips and tricks. This being a demo lecture, I want to do in detail. But as and when we discuss, especially on day one, we'll be discussing a lot of tips and tricks. So the list that I have here, fill series, what I just gave you a demo with one of the examples. We'll be discussing all the options in that. We'll see how to create a custom list, how to work with name ranges, how to work with data validation, and one of the most important options and very good options available is formatting it as a table, which makes your data dynamic. You'll be able to work with dynamic charts, you'll be able to work with dynamic pivot tables, you'll be able to work with dynamic functions. So every object in Excel becomes dynamic if you just format your data as a table. Just a quick example. Right? Let's say I have some salesperson names and the sales for the first quarter. Now, if I create a simple chart, how does this work? Let's say, I keep modifying data, probably the data keeps changing. As and when I modify it, it of course reflects on the chart. That's how it works. But what if we're getting data on a weekly basis or fortnightly basis? We need to update the data. It does not happen automatically. So we'll have to go to our, design select data and changing this range. So imagine if it's a daily entry, it becomes a tedious task. Every time you have to go keep changing your data range. What we can do is we can make this into a table, either by going to the table or by doing a format system. So all we have done here is we've just converted it to a table. So the benefit of doing it, your data becomes, or your object becomes a one-time creation. Just keep adding and data just updates automatically. Not just row-wise, it's also intelligent to pick up the second series, the third series, depending on how you have your, or what type of chart you've selected. These are some of the wonderful features again, which, if you're a power user of Excel, would find it very useful. So basically, looking at the tips and tricks, you don't have to worry like, I don't even know how to create a chart. I mean, what's the benefit of working with a dynamic chart? Not to worry. this session will be focused, although it is an advanced Excel, basically how I've designed this is it takes you from basic to advanced level. That's the reason why I've dedicated very less time for VBA, because if you really want to focus on VBA, then the prerequisite is you should be a power user of Excel. You should be well versed in the advanced topics so that we don't have to go back and discuss that, right? So since we might have a heterogeneous route, we might have some of you might just be students who've passed out, some of you might have just started using Excel, some of you might be freshers into an organization who might have just opened Excel and seen. So we've kept all the categories, all the people in mind, and we've designed this. So we'll start from basics, from the start scratch of Excel, and then we'll make you prepared till the last topic, which is one of the most important topics in advanced Excel. That's how this course has been designed. Right. So these were a couple of things I wanted to share with you. Basically, what are the benefits of attending this program? And I wanted to share the duration with you all. I also wanted to set the right expectations. I don't want anybody, because normally when we say advanced Excel, so many people just come in to learn VBA. That's not what we've designed here, because as I mentioned, we have heterogeneous crowd. I also wanted to discuss with you how to use this any meeting effectively, which is very important for our session, for our upcoming sessions. Regarding the costing and duration, you all can contact Yaman, who can give you more information on this. So the contact details, in case if you're interested to register for this program and if you want to proceed, so you can get all the details from Yaman, what would be the cost and the contact details, how do we go ahead and register. Please do contact Yaman today. Yeah, so that's all I have from my side. As I mentioned, if you have any queries related to costing or how to go about and register, you can contact Yaman. I'll just share his number and email ID. Right, so you might contact him on 9029008821 and courses at eleganceeducare.in. Right, and you should be getting the reply related to your queries. So that's all, folks. Thank you all for your time and hope to see you on our day one session. Thank you very much.